Welcome. It's the Close the Deal show. I'm your host, Terrence McCray. Today, we're going to talk about the entrepreneur journey with Shareen Rivera. Shareen Rivera is a best-selling ghostwriter, author, publisher, and TV show host. Shareen Rivera is an inspiring, transformational speaker who advocates the power of healing by turning one's pain into purpose. Shareen believes the world can be healed by each of us taking steps to heal ourselves individually. Welcome to today's show at the Close the Deal show, Miss Shareen Rivera. Shareen, how are you?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I am great. It's a pleasure having you.
Yes, thank
you.
you.
Well, let's cut right to the chase.
Yes.
How did we get here?
How did we get? I think we both met through our mutual friend Chandra Brooks.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But how did we get here as a transformational coach?
I'm a ghostwriter.
Correct.
Yes.
As a ghostwriter, you wear many hats. You're a publisher as well.
Actually, yeah. So I started off just as a single mom, trying to heal. Right. I left my 10-year marriage. It was an abusive marriage, and I was just trying to figure it out, how to heal with my children, work, and just juggle the many hats. And I decided to publish my book on my own, my poetry that I wrote throughout the marriage. And it just so happened when I did that and I started posting my poems, and it was just a book of poetry, I started gaining a big following, and I became in a position where I was then a domestic violence advocate, and I gained a lot of speaking opportunities, and then I gained my first ghostwriting contract. And then from there, I was able to gain enough ghostwriting jobs to quit my job completely in 2019. And since then, I've been working for myself, and I've written 17 books and have published 55 books.
That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yes.
So you're telling me and our viewers that from your traumatic experience in your marriage, you were able to take that pain and turn it into a purpose?
Yes. It's, I really consider it transforming energy, right? Because all of us have painful experiences as part of life. We all carry it inside of us, regardless of how much money you have or how much success you have. We all have heavy energy inside of us from experiences, and a lot of people don't know how to release. And what happens is that energy just manifests in other areas of our life or in our body. And so for me, I had been through so much trauma and abuse just my entire life that there was no other choice but to find a way to release it. Otherwise, I knew that it was going to affect the way I showed up as a mother, and also just perpetuating the cycles that were inside of my family. So I searched for knowledge on how to transform energy. So that's what I really think it's all about, is transforming the pain and making it purposeful.
Excuse me. When you say transforming the pain and making it purposeful, I don't like to really pry into people's personal life, but you've made a lot
I'm
of success.
Book.
Hey, I understand that.
Yeah.
But, one of the things that I find interesting is the fact that you never gave up.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
Because I had no choice.
We all have choices.
No, for me, there was no choice, right? I grew up without my parents. My grandparents raised me. My mom is still homeless in San Jose, walking the streets. I've had to drive past my mom with my children in the car. My dad is homeless in Washington. Both of my parents are meth addicts and mentally ill. And for me, there was no choice. I never wanted my children to experience the abandonment of me, or also just witnessing me not there. And so that was not a choice for me. Healing was the only choice.
That is a good choice that you've made. But I'm curious, to learn, what does that feel like when you go to bed at night, knowing that your parents are homeless and you're out here grinding every day,
Mm-hmm.
working with different people, but trying to develop new contracts? How do you sleep at night?
How do you think it feels?
Horrible.
Yeah. It's a very sad feeling, right? When you can't help people that you love. It's a very helpless feeling. It's a feeling that you can get lost in like a deep dark hole. But for me, I've had to find purpose in that, right? Because all of the pain and the loss that I've experienced, I try to use that to help other people. Because for a long time, a big portion of my life, I spent expensing my energy trying to help people that really didn't want my help. And so many of us do that, right? We spend our energy trying to fix people. And all along, we need to be focusing on us and how to fix us so we could stop those cycles and take ownership of our energy.
At what point did you realize that the people that you were trying to help, you can't get through to them?
That's a good question. I think it was when I was pregnant with my son, my first child. Up until that point, at 27 years old, I had always been just really emptying my cup trying to fix my mom, because my dad wasn't around. And I found my mom in crack houses, behind dumpsters, prostituting on the streets. I would search for her, me and my sister would search for her every time it was raining. And it came to a point when I became pregnant with my son that I just couldn't do it anymore. I had got her own apartment, and she just did not want help. And so I had to, I still tried to help her, but then when I had my daughter, it came to a point when she literally was like homeless right around. And homeless, I mean, I still paid for a boarding care for her, but she chose not to go there. She wanted to be on the streets. And so it came to a point where I really just had to like learn how to set boundaries. And it's a really complicated thing to learn how to have boundaries for yourself when you never witnessed anyone in your life have boundaries and no one ever taught you to have boundaries. But boundaries and learning how to say no and learning how to be okay with saying no, it's a hard thing to do, and it requires you to have a sit down conversation with yourself and release yourself of the guilt, because none of us are responsible for anyone else but ourselves. We all, like you said, have choices, right? And when you're a mother, especially a single mother, there comes to a point in your life when you're at a crossroads and you have to take ownership of how you're expensing your energy and what you're giving your energy to for the sake of your children and for the sake of stopping generational cycles.
Well, this journey seems to unfold in a way where it makes me want to say, how did you develop this into a business model?
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what you've gone through, whether it was 10 years in your marriage, whether it's the homelessness with both of your parents and they're suffering from their own mental and drug addiction, that didn't stop you from being a publisher. Mm-hmm. That didn't stop you from being a ghostwriter. Mm-hmm. That didn't stop you from being a TV host. Mm-hmm. Where did you develop this business model for you to be able to say, this is what I want to do, this is where I'm going to serve my purpose, and these are the type of people I want to connect to in order for me to excel?
Honestly, that's a really good question. I had no intentions of creating a business out of this. When I wrote my book, I was giving my book away for free. I had no intention of making money from my book. I just wanted to help people. But I have found that when your intention is to help people, the money just happens to come with it, right? And it's a lesson that I learned, is like to always focus my intention on helping, because I know then I will eventually be able to monetize that some way. So my focus was just helping, and then from there I was able to, gain contracts. But I think my business model is constantly evolving as my craft is more refined and I'm learning more. But to know where I am, to see where I am today and know where I came from, the progress, it amazes me, because now I have a publishing company. I have 10 to 15 people working for me at any given time. I have, so many clients. I'm writing 10 books simultaneously. I have writers, and it's really amazing to know that I've been able to create this from really nothing. And I do interviews like this and just talks because I want women especially to understand that where we came from and the environment that we're in, it does not define where you're going or what you're capable of. Your mind does. And if you can take control of your mind and the information that you give yourself and not pollute your mind with other things in the world, you can do amazing things.
Well, you're doing some amazing things, and it's not just coming from your words, it's coming from your heart.
Yeah.
You know, anytime that you're creating opportunities for people to work for you and for them to spread the same joy that you're spreading just by being here on the Close the Deal show, we have that same concept, a pay it forward model.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we originally started with this show.
Yeah.
You know, we went from a public access to now an entrepreneur ecosystem. This is how we were able to acquire high value content like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what I'm intrigued by is, the barriers. You know, what kind of barriers have you had to overcome during this whole process, not only as a publisher, not only as a ghostwriter, as a best-selling author, but as well as, a TV show host.
And a single mom.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many kids do you have?
I have 2. I have an 8-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
What is that like?
Honestly, I think that entrepreneurship has been the greatest life teacher ever.
Okay.
It has really forced me to own myself. And when I say myself, I mean even my fears and my weaknesses. Because one thing I have found is I'm good at many things, right? But just because I'm good at many things does not mean I should be doing all of those things.
Okay.
Right? And so for me especially, I've had trouble being able to let go of control of certain things and to outsource things, but I've learned you have to outsource things in order to grow, and you can't do things alone. And so releasing that control, and then also just realizing that it's okay not to know. And sometimes, I would get a job for something, a contract, and I really didn't know how I was going to complete. I never wrote that kind of book.
Mm-hmm.
And it requires you to have faith in yourself and just realize that you're capable of it, and you'll figure it out as you go along. I think a lot of times many of us don't do things because we don't know how it's going to work out, or we don't know how we're going to do it, but there's something really amazing if you just can let go of that and just understand that you'll learn as you go and trust the process.
When you said that, the first thing came to mind is, I sat there and said to myself, I've had experiences like that in my own life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, I've been through that situation before, but for me to be able to find the right type of people to help me get through it is the most important thing to me.
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't know if you're on that same frequency with someone until you open up.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the first person that you had to confide in order to open up to get you going to build your empire that you're building now?
I think it was Chandra
Okay.
Brooks. Yeah. It was the first coach that I ever hired, and it was a big investment for me at the time. But she really helped me be able to talk about the struggles that I was having and gain clarity on what I wanted. What was I doing? I didn't know what I was doing. I write people's books.
Okay.
I didn't know, I can make a business out of this, or, I should be marketing this,
Okay.
So that was a really integral piece of my journey, was hiring her. And then also, as I evolved in this entrepreneurship and healing, I really got into my spirituality and understanding how to intertwine the two. And so, my best friend and my dream guide, Jennifer Alvarez, she has
The Rainmaker.
The Rainmaker, yes, and she's on an invite only now. Her company, her business is an invite only business model. So she teaches very, very powerful sacred teachings on how to transform our waking reality through our dream reality. And so it's really powerful. And so that was another integral piece of my evolving in my business.
So do you find it important to surround yourself with people that you can learn from as well as grow with?
Yeah, I think that's important for anybody. I mean, we are the 5 people that we interact with every day, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, being very mindful. Not everyone should have access to your energy. And I think that's something a lot of us are not aware of. right? If we allow anyone to come into our space and just like dump on us, where's that energy going if you don't know how to intentionally release it?
That energy can go anywhere.
Oh yeah, well then it sticks to you, right? Like you lend an ear to just anybody, right? And let them dump on you all their problems, and then it kind of like changes your mood, right? Or if you're around negativity all the time, you just start feeling negative. So I think it's really important to take responsibility of your energy and who you allow to have access to it.
So would you use that same concept in your mission statement?
That's a very good question. I think that my mission statement, when I'm talking about my mission statement, it changes, like the elevator pitch. I have different pitches that I give based on what kind of energy someone's giving to me, because I could tell.
Well, you're going to have an opportunity to do that later.
I could just tell if people understand what I'm talking about when I say healing, right? Like sometimes that just goes over somebody's head.
Okay.
Right?
It can.
Some people are more analytical and logical, right?
Yes.
And then some people, they can understand that. So the verbiage just kind of changes.
That's true, but a lot of times people have to prepare themselves.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you're not prepared, ideally, then there's no need to talk about something you're not familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And by you being a publisher, that's a whole nother area.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking certain dynamics as a publisher, how do you approach it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I approach it depending on what the person is trying to do, because when I say publisher, a lot of people think I'm have a publishing house. No, I help people self-publish. So that's a completely different process than somebody submitting their work and saying, oh, I have a publisher. I'm not a publishing house.
Okay. Definitely.
Yeah.
See, I had one of your previous clients on the show.
Yes.
Mauricio.
Yes.
And what was that process like?
So Mauricio was actually my first ghostwriting client.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the first person that believed in me. And he saw potential in me. And so writing his book was definitely a process, because I had never ghostwritten anything before. Okay. And so I was learning my craft as I was writing his book.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful.
And I don't know if you've read the first chapter of his book, but it's pretty powerful.
Are you talking about Smoke and Mirrors?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
And he made me the co-author of that book with him, because it took so many years writing it with him.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, he took a break from it just because his business was evolving and he didn't have the time, but yeah.
So, I want to tap into some of the core issues of the entrepreneur ecosystem that the Close the Deal show has expanded. And one of the particular core values is, education through collaboration. Mm-hmm. What does that mean to you, and how do you apply that in your own business model today? Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really important aspect in just every part of life, to be honest. Like I said, you can't do anything alone. So collaboration to me, in the way that is part of my business, is that when I'm with my clients, not only am I learning from them, I'm getting paid literally to have them pour into my cup, but they're also learning from me on how to release the energy and how to work through that energy when they're telling their story. I've written a book for a billionaire. I've written a book for many millionaires. I've written books for politicians and judges, and it's amazing how many successful people, and when we say success, I mean people that have been able to gain a lot of money and physical success, but have never told their story, right? And you see them struggle in how to vocally share things that they know inside of them. And when I'm able to put those emotions into words, it's a sense of liberation that a lot of people don't know how to handle. So not only are they learning from me, but I'm also learning from them.
So have you ever dealt with a situation where it was very difficult for the person to stay in tune while you're trying to explain to them what you're looking for from them, and them project that information back to you?
Usually with my ghostwriting, I just let people talk. So what's the most difficult thing is being able to gain a space where people feel comfortable with my energy. A lot of the time, most of us have problems trusting other people, like to open up, and so just setting that intention and gaining that energy is, I think, the most difficult thing, but once I'm able to do that, then things kind of flow, and it's not really me trying to gain something like, oh, tell me this, tell me. I just let people talk, and then I'm able to see what I need to extract from them.
What does commitment to integrity mean to you?
To me, that means that you shouldn't need a contract to fulfill what you say you're going to do, right? Of course, this world is a contract world,
Yes,
right?
it is.
But my word is my contract. If I say I'm going to do something, my word is gold, and that's how I've been able to build my reputation and my business and earn people's trust.
But we know that is not something that is normal today.
That's why I'm not normal.
Okay, yeah. Because ideally, a lot of people will tell you they're going to do this, and then change completely at the drop of a dime.
Yeah, but you first learn how to do that by keeping your word to yourself, right? You could tell how people keep the word by watching how they conduct their life for themselves. So I've learned how to make commitments to myself and follow through with that, and then that kind of seeps over to how I deal with other people.
Well, that's something that a lot of people during their entrepreneur journey don't recognize, don't learn.
That's why I said entrepreneurship is the greatest life teacher.
It's amazing that you say that, is because a lot of times people don't know the basics. And if you're under $2 million in liquid and you haven't had it consistent for 5 years, you have to be a part of a group. You have to be taught all the things that one needs to know as you continue to scale.
And when you say education through collaboration, you need to understand that a lot of the services or things that you give, you're not always going to get money up front. It's not about the money. It's about an energy. You tap into that energy of giving and it comes back. So I try to give more than what I ask from people, So I used to do, I had to do many things for free, to earn people's trust, to show what I was about, to be able to build those relationships, because the key is relationships. And a real relationship is built off of authenticity. It's not about money.
This is so true. That's how I was able to, actually get this show here. I actually did a show right here on someone else's platform. The producers at the show said, you need your own show. And I had to figure out, what would I really talk about? And then I saw in the world what was going on that no one was doing. And that was being able to share that entrepreneur journey experience. So when you and your 4 other women come together, your core group, what is it that you all share that helps each of you during your entrepreneur journey get through the experiences that you're getting through together?
I think we mostly share our wins, and why that's important, and just for me at least, I've experienced, is that I can't really share my wins with everybody. Not everybody claps when you win.
Okay.
Right? And I've noticed a lot of the times too that a lot of people don't understand a win, what that really means, if they don't understand what it takes to get that.
Okay.
And so with us, we kind of share our wins and cheer each other on.
So when you say wins, another way one could look at that as an accomplishment. So what has been in the last 6 months an accomplishment by you?
So many things, but something in particular that comes to my mind is I was able to help co-create a children's book with a judge in Santa Clara. And that was a special project for me. Not only because she's a very prestigious lady in Santa Clara and she chose me to work with her, but it was the first illustrated children's book that I had created through my publishing company. And then the other thing is I wrote 6 books in the last 6 months and published it, and I've made 3 books a bestseller. So
excellent. Very, very impressive. As you continue to grow, what would you like to give back?
Oh, that's a big thing. I know. I really want to give back hope. And what does that mean? As I continue to grow and I'm able to help people and plant the seeds and to inspire other people, I want to be able to set the marker so high that people continue to keep trying.
Okay.
right? Especially single women.
Perfect. That sounds perfect to me. But my next question is, when you hear commitment to integrity, what does it mean to you?
Well, my integrity, like I said, is...
Oh, no, excuse me. Not commitment to integrity. Trust with authenticity.
Oh, yeah. So authenticity to me is like, I'm genuine in everything that I do. I don't just accept any clients, right?
Why is that?
Because I don't like to have just any energy, deal with just any energy. I've refunded people back money that I don't want to work with. And that's because I've learned that when you're doing things just for the money and you don't really like the energy, it really won't work out in the end.
You won't do your best work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't like that. I don't like that feeling. I'm not working for myself to feel like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything I do, it's like either 100 or 0. You're gonna get 100% of me, or you're gonna get 0% of me.
There it is. There.
Yeah.
That's the honest to God truth. You know, I want you to tell these viewers. Look right there into that camera. I want you to tell those viewers. In 45 seconds, no more than a minute.
Mm-hmm.
If they were looking for a publisher,
Mm-hmm.
why should they hire you?
Well, I'm not just a publisher, but I'm a ghostwriter. So I help pave makers, entrepreneurs, politicians, coaches, and just people that want to make impact in the world and that have a message, which we all have. I help people like that brand themselves with their story and write their book in a way that conveys their message in the most impactful and effective way based on your target audience. And my company helps people self-publish. And through self-publishing, you keep and own the rights to your work, and you're able to do what you want to do with it and brand your business with it by keeping all of the profit.
There you have it.
Mm-hmm.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is why you should hire Mrs. Shareen Rivera. Shareen, I want to thank you for not only coming on the show, but I want to thank you for giving people an understanding how you got to where you are today in your entrepreneur journey, in your career as a business professional, as a business owner, as a mother, as an advocate for domestic violence, but most importantly, as a human being who want to do some good in the world and make people feel good about themselves.
Thank you.
For you to go through the transitions of what you went through, God had a plan, and his plan is manifested into a butterfly.
Thank you so much.
You have a radiant smile, but you also have a beautiful soul.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Before we close this deal, today's show was sponsored by Mrs. Shareen Rivera. If you would like to learn more how to contact Mrs. Rivera, she will share her information with you right now.
You can contact me through email at contactme@ShareenRivera.com or through my website, ShareenRivera.com, and all social media platforms under Shareen Rivera.
There you have it. If you are interested not only in possibly writing your own book, but gaining insight and possibly on how you can possibly start your own publishing company, contact Mrs. Rivera. Gain that insight, learn a tip or two, but most importantly, close the deal. Thank you for tuning in.